Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Wednesday, January the 29th. Ian Cameron with you. Alex B. Smith on the mend today, not with us. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. But with us today, making his Ice Guys show debut, someone we mentioned last week that he'd be joining us here today on this Wednesday show. Recently retired from pro hockey, now getting into some things connected to hockey after hanging up the skates. And excited to have him with us, joining us here today on this Wednesday edition of the Ice Guys show, Trevor Mingoya. Trevor, welcome to the show, making your debut. How are you?
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, ready to talk some hockey.
Yeah, looking forward to that. We'll get into all that, the 5 NHL games. We'll recap last night. We'll also talk a little bit about our betcast last night, which was a lot of fun, exclusively for our Patreon members. Great camaraderie, great company with a lot of great hockey fans and bettors, and just watching the games, having a few beers and just commenting and just, taking in the games. It's just a lot of fun, and it was another great betcast last night. So we thank everybody, our viewers and listeners, for joining us. Jordan Sambrook joined us late in the night as well. So we thank him for joining us as well, having a great season with the Florida Everblades right now in the ECHL. That whole team is playing so well right now. But Trevor, let's just briefly, and we're going to do an interview with you down the road about your career specifically, more in depth, the stories and the journey. But just overall, Providence College with the Friars, a few years with the American Hockey League and the ECHL after that. You gave the European hockey experience a try overseas for several years later on, specifically Germany for a couple of years, Finland as well. And then you just basically called it a day as far as the hockey career just a couple of weeks ago. So just tell us about just the overall career and how sad it might be to say, it's over, but also the excitement you feel about what's next for you.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long time. I think I put on skates at around 3 years old. So it's, I just had my 33rd birthday on the 18th of this month. So 30 years playing hockey, which is pretty wild. Something I always dreamed of. And I played 8 years professional, played Providence College, fortunate enough to win its championship there in 2015, a couple years in the States as well. And last 6 years were in Europe, and 3 kids now, wife, and moving the family back and forth to the other side of the country has gotten to a point where it matched my body's inability to continue going. So it was time for me to think about what was next. I wanted to stay in the game. Coaching was my first thought, but we've been planting some roots here where I live down in Charleston, South Carolina. And getting into the agent and family advising business.
And like I said, it's amazing how many people we've had, players, a lot of players too, that just recently retired exactly in your shoes. And that's the time that they joined us on the show. And just getting into, coaching, training, something, scouting. In the case of Brandon DeFazio was on our show previously. He's into scouting now with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it's just there's some way to stay connected to hockey because you love it so much. And yeah. I know you were excited just to talk hockey. You said you love talking hockey, and that's why you're probably going to do a hell of a job for us here on the show talking about NHL. So with that in mind, we'll get into last night. Again, just another thanks to everyone joining us on the Betcast. Just before we get into last night's games and recap them all specifically, it was a busy Tuesday as it always is. What's some of the things that stand out to you about this current NHL season, whether it's a specific player, a specific team, just things that you've observed so far that say, hey, that's grabbed my attention so far?
Mm-hmm. I'd say right out the gate, the big blockbuster trade from the other day. I did not see that coming at all. I didn't think we were going to see something like that this year. I mean, I get it.
And this far away from the deadline too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Teams were, that was a massive switch up. So that caught my eye, obviously, as probably everybody else. And then also some of the bottom teams in the league right now. It's just kind of surprising how much they're struggling. I thought Chicago was going to be better this year, and they are not at all. it's disappointing to see that Bedard just is not getting what he needs right now. And I think something else that frustrates me watching that team play is the amount of face-offs Bedard loses. I mean, somebody at some point's got to sit him down and be like, hey, we're taking 45 minutes a day here, and we're just going to rip face-offs. He's chasing the puck so much, and it's frustrating to watch.
Great observation, yeah.
Sick. It's unbelievable. His offensive ability and awareness is incredible. But he needs the other part of his game if he's going to be an NHL center. I wouldn't be surprised if they ever move him to wing at this point.
That's excellent observation. Look, he's playing well right now. Don't get me wrong for the Blackhawks as far as
Great
the production.
offensive.
All of a sudden, yeah, no doubt. And Alex, my colleague, is a Blackhawks fan, originally from Chicago, now living in Minnesota. And you know, he always says Bedard's playing with a bunch of bums right now, essentially on the Chicago team. I mean, he is definitely not blaming Bedard for anything that's going on with the Chicago Blackhawks right now, but that's definitely an excellent observation. I'll ask. I assume this Matt Robinson saying, ask Trevor about my boy Kyle McKenzie. Was that a former teammate of yours? I guess so.
Yeah, we played together at Providence. I love Kyle.
Yep.
Love Kyle.
All right, nothing but good things to say. Is he a bit of a character?
Great character. Oh, yeah.
Great character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously,
great locker room. Probably one of the best locker room guys I've ever played with.
There we go. So Matt Robinson. There you go. There's your answer, Matt. Kyle McKenzie. Nothing but good things to say about him. That's an interesting one. So Connor Bedard's struggles in the face-off dot stand out more than anything lately, and the big trade, obviously, with the Hurricanes and the Avs. One thing I want to mention, too, about Bedard's face-off issues that you brought up, wasn't Crosby already by this time of his career, like a year and a half into his NHL career, already such just a face-off machine, you know, as far as his face-off win percentage? That's the thing. He quickly became an elite face-off guy, and obviously Bedard, it's taken him a lot more time.
Yeah, I saw, I don't, maybe it was a show on TSN that they were doing a segment, and they were talking about other current top number one centers for teams in their face-off percentages their first year. And a lot of them were pretty low, but like he has the worst, and everybody else had gotten progressively better into their second year. And he's, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, he's probably around the same thing. And it's not just all on him. Like he also, his wingers need to get in, help him out a little bit better, but he's also losing draws pretty clean. And I mean, there's nothing else a winger can do to help him on that. Yeah, I mean, that just takes time. It takes reps. Like he's going to get better at it. But I mean, there needs to be, I'm not in their locker room. They could be working with him a ton on it. It's just, and if it's not working, move him to wing. I mean, that's my opinion on it. But then you look at a kid like Macklin Celebrini, who's also a center in the league. He's doing a little bit better on faceoffs than Bedard, but his defensive awareness is unbelievable. Like I love watching that kid play. If I had to pick between the two of them, I'm picking Macklin to build my team around.
Yeah, Macklin. I've got a plus 600 ticket on. I've got a plus 600 ticket on Macklin Celebrini to win the Calder Trophy this year, and that price is not the same as it was when I bet it. I'll tell you that right now. He's like the favorite. He's like minus 175. You know, at most spots. That being said, it's not a slam dunk. He's going to win it because Lane Hudson has suddenly come on like a freight train with the Montreal Canadiens. Isn't it something to watch him? Like just, it's like the puck dances on his stick, and his vision, passing ability. Yep.
It's like watching a point guard, the way he moves with his feet. It's like he's bouncing around. And he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season with moving the puck a little bit quicker or kind of getting himself out of sticky situations, and there was a lot of turnovers. And he's adapted really well since then. He's got a high hockey IQ, 100%. Like he has adapted. And you can tell guys who coming into pro their first or second year, how quickly they adapt really tells their hockey IQ. And he's one of those kids.
There he is, Alex, in the chat, who is, like I said, ailing. That's why he's not on with me today, but says Bedard needs to be a winger. I don't know why that experiment only lasted like 2 weeks.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see it
That's
for
a
a little
shame.
bit. Give it some time, but you also have to have a legitimate center come in and be able to run the faceoff circle. Because if you bring a center in who's also losing draws at the same clip, what's the point? He's still chasing the puck around everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's worth. And plus, you just need, let's see with Frank Nazar. I will say that because Frank Nazar has fit in very nicely here these last few games with Bedard, and we've been on the goal props. I mean, we've hit some plus 500 goal props with Frank Nazar, and some of the favorite situations I love to look at from a wagering standpoint is these players that move up the lineup. We talk about this as a strategy and a theory to go with for player props. The odds makers will not adjust to a player that's going from the third line to the second line or the third line to the top line, whatever the case may be, or someone going from not playing on the power play to suddenly playing on the power play. There will not be an adjustment on any of the props, goal prop, assist prop, points props. And those are the times to really take advantage of that. And Frank Nazar is a perfect example of that. He's up there on the top line with Bedard, and you could have taken him plus 500, Trevor, a few nights ago to score a goal. It's that kind of thing that if you're watching the game and you're studying the lineup, the line combinations and the defensive pairs, and you're looking at the starting lineups for each game, and you see all of a sudden power play 1, power play 2, how the lineups unfold, you could really pick off some totally mispriced players 100%. As far as props. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. He's doing really well right now. I really liked his game at Michigan, and I was hoping to see him kind of break out this year with Chicago, and I think he's kind of hitting that groove right now. He looks good.
He does. And speaking of, that's a great segue to the first of the games we're going to recap from last night. Chicago, they look good. 4-1. How about that? They were, and we jumped on them for a small bet, plus 300. One thing we've noticed in the NHL, Trevor, is there's never a situation where I say there's justification for a team to be minus 400 favorites in this league on any given night. It's just, you don't want to take that. You don't want to lay a price like that with a huge favorite like that. This is, first of all, it's the NHL.
Yeah.
Any team can win any given night. There's bounces of the puck. There's maybe a call that can go against a certain team. What if an injury happens? And what if a goalie, just is lights out and can suddenly, stand on his head and lead his team to victory? And once again, it was a great performance in net from Arvid Soderblom last night for the Chicago Blackhawks, leading them to that 4-1 victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay was, minus 400 just about as a favorite, and they go down to defeat. It is uncanny, Trevor, throughout the course of the season. We've mentioned it on the show, how the bigger favorites, more often than you would think, teams have lost as these bigger minus 400 favorites. I mean, it doesn't always happen, but my goodness, it is always, for me, buyer beware. But a great win for Chicago last night, 4-1 against Tampa. The goaltending was great. They were opportunistic. Bedard was solid. Even after Braden Point scored the first goal, that was it for Tampa after that. The only bad news was the first period over trend for Chicago, 15-1 in their last 16 games to the first period over going into last night. Fell short. There was only one goal in the first, but it's still 15-2 in the last 17 games. Probably won't jump off that train until I lose 2 in a row with it, but to be able to cash with Chicago was great. What do you make of Chicago there? And your thoughts, too, on Tampa, Trevor? Because they, to me, have not gone on that big run yet at any point this year. There's been a lot of inconsistency in their game.
Yeah, they're interesting every year. I mean, the roster that they have, and then having John Cooper, they're always going to be a threat. And Vasilevsky in net, my Lanta, is that guy lights out. You get him in playoffs, he's the hardest goalie to score against. I love that team. I love watching them play. They have so much chemistry. They've been together for so long. They can always get it done. They're second place right now behind Boston.
Yep.
And I mean, getting rid of Hall for Chicago, I don't know, plus or minus on that. He's obviously had a very interesting career the past few years and trying to find his game again and land where he needs to land. But Bedard's goal last night, I mean, that's just a sneak preview of what you're going to see for a long time coming with him. That was just outrageous. But yeah, I mean, the Blackhawks have so much rebuilding to do, and it's at this point, how do you even rebuild? Where are you starting? They need a goalie. Goalie played great last night, but they need a goalie that's going to come in. He's going to be their guy for the next 6 years, like a stud. And what do you give up for that? I don't think Seth Jones is in the prime of his career anymore. He's taking up money. There's a lot they need to work on.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, but Tampa Bay, like I said, up and down, especially on the road, they've had their struggles. How about Chicago? Nice win there. How about Carolina? They shut out the Rangers 4-0 last night. We had our issues with Freddie Anderson, but certainly a better performance from him, a 22-save shutout after giving up 7 goals in the first 2 starts that he returned from injury. When you look at this Carolina team, adding Mikko Rantanen, a legit offensive performer, someone that shows up in the playoffs. When last couple of years, look, Aho's had an okay but not great playoffs. Svechnikov's had a disappointing playoffs. To bring in someone that's a legit playoff performer offensively, that's a boost for Carolina. Yeah, there's still some questions without Pesce. Is that blue line still as strong? But the more I look at them, they're getting better, that blue line. There's been a drop-off just a little bit in their defensive game, but they're still certainly an above-average blue line as long as you got players like certainly Jacob Slavin, leading them at that back end. The question is going to be always, it's going to come down to Frederik Andersen and Pyotr Kochetkov, that goaltending duo. But when they play like they did last night, Carolina can beat anybody, and Carolina is absolutely a contender, for the Stanley Cup. But getting 100%. That consistency from him in net is going to be the question. That's a tough loss for the Rangers last night. 4-0 getting shut out, and especially after the way they lost the Colorado game in the dying seconds on Sunday afternoon. 5-4 with that 2-on-1 goal. Makar steps out of the box, 2-on-1. Yeah, that's a brutal way to lose. Yeah, talk about rough for us. A lot of us here on the show that watch, and me included, Alex as well, having the draw in that game at plus 350. Big price for the game to go to overtime, and with 15 seconds to go. See you later. Absolutely brutal there with that 5-4 result. Let me throw our system play, our Ice Guys system play at Trevor, and see if he thinks it makes sense. We think it makes sense. The results specify that it makes sense. It's betting for a high-scoring game after a team gets shut out in their previous game. Does that seem to make sense to you? Because that's a system play that we have gone to, Trevor, all year. The betting the first period over, the full game over in games after a team suffers a shutout loss. And in those situations this year where the team has been shut out, the following game, first period over is coming through at a 56-37 clip in the first period over, and then 51-36-6 to the full game over. So very, very strong results. And theoretically, just as a guy that played the game, were your teams when you got shut out like the Rangers were last night, was the next game like, okay, we got to get our offense going, take a few more chances, take a few more risks, and the focus is more zoned in on, hey, we got to score some goals. You can't win, obviously, getting goose-egged.
Yeah. No, I think that's a smart way of thinking it, because, when you get shut out, there's a lot more than just you didn't put pucks in the net. Like, it could be bad puck luck, bad bounces, posts, all sorts of different situations that...
Overpassing. I find overpassing.
Yeah, overpassing. Maybe you get a goal or two called back. Especially in the NHL, you then get shut out and go into your next game. You're going to put up goals. And then once you get a couple, you kind of feel the pressure off the shoulders. You ease up on the grip of your stick, and then it just comes a little bit more naturally. And, I mean, unless you're at the bottom of the barrel and a team who's given up and just trying to win the draft lottery, then you might get shut out again. But those other teams, like, you can bet they're going to put up 2, 3, 4 goals. That's kind of how I'd look at it.
When it's a bad night for a team, Trevor, when you give up hat-tricks to 2 different players on the other team.
How about
that? Happened last night to the Boston Bruins. They give up a Hattie to Tage Thompson, who had a phenomenal night. When that guy decides, I'm going to dominate and I'm going to own the ice, can't stop him. And he had one of those nights last night for Buffalo.
I played against him his freshman year at University of Connecticut.
Really?
Yeah, he was one of those players. It was his year. So he came from the NTDP. He was maybe a third-line player at the NTDP. Didn't get drafted. I think he didn't get drafted. Pretty sure. But he was. He came in to UConn as a low-end recruit for the NTDP from the NTDP, and just absolutely tore it up at UConn. And guest appearance by my wife. And
Hello, Mrs.
Yeah,
Mingoya.
you could see it. You could see each game that this kid was just getting more and more comfortable being in a position where he was the guy. And he was, what was he, 6'7"? He was toe dragging like he was Brian Giunta out there. And it was unbelievable to watch this kid's development through his freshman year of college. And then when he signed pro and he started slow, I think in St. Louis's organization, and then he got moved to Buffalo and just took off. I mean, he is so fun to watch.
That's when he went to another level. Yeah, that first year or two in Buffalo. Then he had that down year last year with them where he kind of took a step back. And early this year, it was kind of hit or miss for him. But, boy, the last, like I would say, several games, handful of games, Tage Thompson that dominated 2 years ago is back.
Vibing, 100%. The patience that he shows when he's playing like this, when he's able to hold onto the puck and make some of these plays that he makes, that's when they're in that flow state and you can see it. And it's like makes you want to watch each game that he's playing. He's one of those guys who you can visibly see that he's in that flow state, and it's fun to watch.
No doubt. It was fun to watch Buffalo. Peterka, as I like to say, J.J. Peterka with the hat trick for Buffalo. And, of course, Tage Thompson as well. 7-2 as they beat down the Boston Bruins. It's a rough loss for Boston. You know what's impressive, too? Buffalo's coming off the long road trip out west, and they come back home, and that's the kind of performance they have, 7-2. Really impressive. Winnipeg, very impressive again, 4-1 win. We keep saying it with Winnipeg. That's now, 9 or 10 straight wins for them where they've given up 2 goals or less to the opponent in like 9 or 10 straight wins that they've had. They've given up 2 or less. So if you like Winnipeg, don't lay the big money line price. Take team total under for the opponent, and you've been doing very well with that, and you could have done that again last night. 4-1 Jets win there. 5-2 Islanders with the win against the Colorado Avalanche. It's actually now 5 in a row for the Islanders. Now, I'm not getting too excited yet. Still want to see more, but no, this has definitely been one of the better stretches that the Islanders have had, and they've still got some injuries on the blue line too. You know, it's including Noah Dobson, their most important defenseman, and yet they've still been able to find ways to win and put this nice stretch together. 5-2. Best bet winner for me on the show. It didn't look good initially, but the best bet hits over 5.5 goals with the Avs and the Islanders. So that was very good to see. It's now the 4th straight game head-to-head between those two teams that's gone over the total. So that was good to see that come through. Great goaltending battle in Calgary. I don't know if there's anyone playing better in net right now in the NHL, very few anyway, than Logan Thompson. Another outstanding game for him, for the Capitals, playing in his hometown there. Calgary goes back there and gets a 3-1 win for the Caps there in that one. Anaheim beats Seattle 6-4. We were talking about it. Philip Grubauer is just in a rough way right now. He can't make saves. He's struggling with his confidence. He gets lit up again for 6 goals, and we think, hey, we're going to still be able to keep betting the opponent team total over with Grubauer in net. Not anymore, Trevor. Breaking news. Guess who was placed on waivers just a little bit ago? Philip Grubauer.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's a move.
Tough year. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Somebody.
Yep. 6-4 Anaheim there. And then, of course, one of the games of the night, Dallas and Vegas. 4-3 win for the Dallas Stars in overtime. I said it. And of course, the headline story is the injury to Miro Heiskanen. It was a scary collision with Mark Stone. It looked like the stick of Rope Hintz hit Stone in the skate and caused him to fall down and trip. And I don't know if he lunged into him or if it's just his balance gave out. And he just happened to just collide right into the knee of Miro Heiskanen. And right away you could see, oh boy, he's not putting any weight on it. He's being helped off the ice. And you see him just hobbling his way back to the dressing room area. And the thought is it may not be as severe or as bad as it initially looked. But definitely this is hold your breath time for any Dallas Stars fan, Trevor, when you're talking about Miro Heiskanen, who is one of the absolute best defensemen in the NHL. He's a pillar on that blue line. He is the lifeblood of that team on the blue line right now. So it's definitely one of those situations where, Miro Heiskanen's health is of obviously grave concern right now. There's no doubt. We hope it's shorter term than longer term. And I said on the Betcast last night, and you've been in these dressing room scenarios when a key player gets hurt, doesn't that rile you up? And I said the moment that injury happened, they were down 3-2 to Vegas at the time. I said, I think they're going to end up coming back and trying to win this one after that Miro injury. Whether you think it's intentional or not, it's Dallas I figured was going to get revved up, said, God, damn this team. We've lost our best defenseman now. We're going to get them. We're going to show those bastards that we're going to get them. And sure enough, they tied it like a few minutes later. And then a beautiful goal and a great game from Wyatt Johnston overall, but a beautiful passing play in overtime to get the game winner for the 4-3 comeback win. I said at the moment it happened, that injury. Watch Dallas rally the troops and with the old win one for the Gipper, and that's exactly what happened last night.
Yeah, they're a fun team to watch. I'm a real big fan of Wyatt Johnston. I think he is a very, very strong pillar for that team offensively, and I think he came into the team earlier than what people probably expected him to be as a prospect. So he's building on what was a fantastic year last year, and he's really fitting into that offensive scheme that they have going there. And then on Vegas with the career year with Eichel, who just really hasn't slowed down at all. It's honestly picking up steam, which is really fun to watch. It's good to see. I mean, he's already got the cup, so he's got what he needs in the back pocket for the rest of his career, and I'm sure he's going to chase a couple more. I think this Vegas team is lights out. I think they're always a threat. They're like the Western Conference version of Tampa, in my opinion. That's how I see them.
Yeah, no doubt. We got a few Dallas Stars fans that are in our chat that watch our show. Matt Robinson's on the show 2 days a week. I don't think he could hate Vegas anymore. Going into last night, he couldn't hate the Vegas Golden Knights more than he does. He probably couldn't hate Mark Stone more than he does. And then that injury happens to Miro Heiskanen. Yeah, and now it's just, you can actually hate Vegas more and Mark Stone more after that, and I'm sure he does. And now you're just hoping like Miro's okay, because we've always said this. He's been just fantastic, and I don't think he gets the league-wide and fan-wide recognition across the NHL landscape for how good he is. That's the way I see it. What do you think?
I agree. I think he's one of the best D-men in the league. He doesn't do the things that like you see from Quinn Hughes, Lane Hutchinson, Cal McCarr, those kind of guys who are flashy. He's a beautiful skater. He moves the puck so well. His shot's clean. He's just high hockey IQ. And
it's not the Dallas Stars guys hockey podcast, Bailey. It's not. It's not.
But I mean, I've been a huge fan of him his entire career, and like you said, he doesn't get the league-wide recognition that he probably deserves, just because there's guys who are flashy, and we're in a day and age where that's what it's going to take for you to get popular throughout the league, throughout social media and all that kind of good stuff. But he's a stud. There's anybody that knows hockey knows it, whether he gets the recognition or not. But yeah, hope he's okay. It would be a tough loss for Dallas if he's out long term.
Oh, come on, guys. Are you shitting me about talking about Miro at the Four Nations? That's not happening now. No way. He's not going to play at Four Nations now. The hope for Dallas is they've got him, for the stretch run of the regular season and the playoffs. I think that's what they're hoping for right now. I think he's totally off the table now as far as him participating for Finland at the Four Nations face-off. I don't know that. It hasn't been confirmed yet. Maybe this is not even close to as severe as we think it is, his injury, but I just can't see him playing for Finland now after what happened last night. So
what's the date?
When does it start? It starts right after the Super Bowl, the Four Nations face-off. So that's going to be February. I think February 12th is the first game of that tournament. Yeah. It's 2 weeks
Unless
away.
There's like absolutely nothing wrong with that knee, but we'll see what they say.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see him playing in that, but and I know Dallas probably wouldn't want him to play in that, but
no, exactly. Yeah. Unless it's like a nothing injury where it was just a scare, I wouldn't be sending him personally.
No, I would agree with that, but that's definitely something we're going to have to monitor here. One last question about last night and the teams involved before we get to Wednesday's games. 5 games to preview in just a moment, but the Winnipeg Jets, are you buying them?
Yes.
You are? Fan. All right. I buy their team. I don't know if I buy Hellebuck in the big playoff games. That's the thing. And the biggest game. Hellebuck's a weird guy. He is actually legitimately a weird guy. If you've actually seen him in an interview, that is true. He's a little bit of an oddball character. But then again, so am I. So I should understand that. But
we all anybody in hockey business is.
Yeah, exactly. I sing half the time with song references on this show. So, yeah, I'm a little bit of an oddball. I agree. But when I look at Hellebuck, he has been phenomenal in regular seasons. He's been phenomenal in just the long stretch of the season overall. But in playoff games, and this goes to the Four Nations that he'll be playing in for the U.S. as well. Is he going to deliver his A game there in the big pressure spots, the big international tournament, playing for your country? Is he going to deliver the A-level goaltending for the Jets this year in the playoffs that he didn't last year when they got bounced by Colorado? It's the only question I have, Trevor, because you're right. The rest of the team looks great.
If he performs really well at Four Nations, they're probably my favorite to win it.
I would agree.
I think that's a great precursor for him. If he does it, I think he's just going to have even more confidence. And I think, as he gets older as well, the more often that they're in playoffs, and there's less pressure on him each year. Because at what point would you just going to be like, this is just who he is? So then if he overperforms, it's basically giving the fans I'm going to undersell you and over-deliver kind of situation.
Yeah. That's well said, and it's going to be interesting because I'm telling you what, between the Four Nations face-off performance for him and the playoffs coming up, these are big-time moments in the career of Connor Hellebuck. Because let's say he flounders in the Four Nations and in the playoffs again for the Jets, people are going to look at him as, you can only get it done in the regular season. You can only play at your best in the regular season, And so this is important. These are the biggest 6 months of Connor Hellebuck's career coming up. I don't think it's over-exaggeration to say that.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I think
really
it's a very important time for him. There's a lot for him to prove, for sure. I think he's up to the task. That's my opinion. I'm
he's ready.
That down. I think he's going to do it.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, he's been awesome this year. Again, awesome in the regular season for the Winnipeg Jets. And like I said, maybe it's his time to, in the biggest games, bring that same performance to the table. We'll see. Hopefully we bring our best performance to the table here with this Wednesday card. 5 games. We'll begin with Philadelphia and New Jersey. Devils minus 185 home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. No Nico Hischier, of course, the captain of the New Jersey Devils, remaining out of the lineup for them. And obviously, when you're talking about no Nico Hischier, you're talking about a player that is obviously just incredible at both ends of the ice, has missed, every bit as much defensively for the New Jersey Devils as offensively. You miss the face-off prowess. You miss a lot of things that Nico Hischier delivers for the Devils. So he's out for them. And, of course, Jacob Markstrom out 4 to 6 weeks, as we've talked about. So we would expect Jake Allen to get the start here tonight for the Devils. I'm looking at RotoWire. No confirmation of the goalie yet for either team. Samuel Ersson is currently projected for Philadelphia to be in net, but that's not confirmed. Sean Couturier is a game-time decision for them here in this game tonight. Actually, he's been ruled out with an illness. That was actually a couple days ago. He missed the game with an illness, but tonight we'll have to see, as of now, a game-time decision. So this is a rematch. These teams played, obviously, a couple nights ago in Philadelphia. Flyers got the win 4-2 in that game. Now they play in Jersey at the Rock Prudential Center. New Jersey suddenly, like I said, they got those 2 wins against Boston and Montreal after Sheldon Keefe, the head coach, kind of lost it on his team at that morning skate prior to the Boston game, and they responded and they drubbed the Bruins, and then they won in overtime against the Habs, but then they lose 4-2 to the Flyers. The one thing we noted about the game Monday with these two teams is the streak of Jake Allen giving up 3 goals in a game. It's something he's done quite a bit, and this is what we talk about, Trevor, with hockey odds makers. Half the time they don't pay anywhere close to the amount of attention to hockey as they do football and basketball specifically. But when you look at Jake Allen right now and the recent pattern in his performances, and it's obviously got to be him moving forward, in a majority of his starts, he gives up 3 goals. It's pretty consistent. It's pretty amazing how consistently he's done that. He's done that now in both starts since Jacob Markstrom got injured. He gave up 3 to Montreal. He gave up 4, obviously, to Philadelphia in the last game. I cashed a ticket with the Philadelphia Flyers team total over 2.5 on Monday night in the game with these two teams. I feel like I'm going right back to that same bet tonight. It's over 2.5. It's minus 106. It's a very good price. We're only asking the Flyers to score 3 goals. Jake Allen usually gives up at least 3 more often than not. So that's probably what I'm looking at here. Once again, is just run it back with what I had on Monday night with these two teams, and that's Flyers team total over 2.5 here, minus 106 in this game. Yeah, Devils have given up 3 or more goals in Allen's last 7 starts. So 7 straight starts, he's given up at least 3. So it's one of those deals, and we talk about this, riding streaks, riding trends. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like Flyers team total here, over 2.5. You could take the plus 155 on the money line to win. I do expect the Devils to play better tonight, so I feel more trustworthy of the Flyers scoring 3, not worrying about whether they win the game or not. So I definitely prefer team total here with Philadelphia over 2.5 in this game. I'd lean full game over as well, 5.5, but definitely prefer the Flyers team total in this one. Trevor, any thoughts here? Flyers, Devils.
I think you hit it right on. I think it's a pretty blueprint type of trade from last week, or from their last meeting, with the Jake Allen streak of 3 goals plus. I mean, that's a
7
blueprint
straight.
right there.
Yep.
Shoot the puck. Shoot the puck, that's for sure. I like the Flyers. I don't think that they're a bottom of the barrel team like they are. I think they just have struggled and they've had injuries, and I love Matvei Michkov too. I think that kid's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He's obviously he's in the rookie conversation too for the Calder, but I also think when you look at Michkov right now, probably still trailing 2 guys that are probably definitely as of now the 2 favorites to win it, with Hudson from Montreal, and the guy that's probably going to win it as of now is Celebrini, of course, with San Jose. But there's no doubt he's up there. He's like right there in the Calder race, and he's had a great season, as you said. Yep. Yeah, as far as the rest of, I was going to say, as far as goal props for this game, Flyers and Devils, Morgan Frost, we talked about him. Forster, and for New Jersey, it didn't come through last night, but we talked about how, and this goes back to what we talked about the theory of you take someone that's moved up the lineup, Dawson Mercer filling in on that second line center spot with no Nico Hischier, and Dawson Mercer, I think there's definitely some value. And I think, too, with the Devils, something to watch for without Hischier. Does the defense struggle more without him? They're going to miss his offense, but the defense, he's one of the best defensive centers and forwards in the league, Nico Hischier. So that's why I think they might be more of an over team with their game totals. So that's why I'd still do lean over 5.5 here as well with this Philadelphia and New Jersey game. All right, next up, we've got LA and Florida. This is a rematch. These two teams just played in LA recently. Florida was on their West Coast swing, and now they will do battle here tonight down in Sunrise, Florida. We got the Panthers minus 150 home favorites coming back off the road trip, 5.5. The total in this game shaded to the under. You got a Panthers team that played in LA, lost to the Kings. Kings came back and they beat the Florida Panthers in LA when these teams just played recently. We'll see if they can follow that up here tonight in this game as these two teams collide once again. Again, it was just exactly a week ago. LA won 2-1 at home against Florida. And, since then, you look at this Panthers team that lost to LA. They beat San Jose 7-2. They lose 4-1 at the end of the road trip against the Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday. So they'll look to bounce back from that defeat here. Meanwhile, Los Angeles, since beating Florida last week, they've lost 2 in a row here on this road trip. The LA Kings, they lose to the Jackets, the surprising upstart Columbus Blue Jackets. And then, of course, they lose to the Detroit Red Wings, who have been a totally different team, Trevor, since Todd McClellan obviously got hired as the head coach, and we've seen them play a lot better. This one is a game I don't have a strong feel for at all, quite honestly. It's Florida revenge for losing in LA last week. It's a Florida team with a solid enough home record, but it's LA off 2 straight losses. I go back and look just off the top of my head. I don't think LA's had a longer than 3. Well, they've had 1 3-game losing streak very early in the season. It was like early October, and since then the team has not lost more than 2 games in a row. They've been very, very solid as far as nipping losing streaks in the bud. So this is a game I don't really have a strong. I can make cases for either side, and when I can do that, I'm probably better off passing on the game. One thing I will say, you look at series history with the Kings and the Panthers, we have seen 10 meetings going back to March of 2019. Do you know that in 9 of the 10 meetings, they've been decided by 1 goal? 9 of the 10. So I think the draw is worth a look. This is a draw candidate for me. I expect a competitive game, plus 316, plus 320 in that range on the draw. I like it. Of course, the big news for Los Angeles, Drew Doughty's return. We knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when, but we knew he was closing in on making his return from injury for the Kings. It will indeed be tonight. It will be his season debut here for the LA Kings. This was an ankle injury he suffered way back in training camp, so he hasn't even played a regular season game this year for the LA Kings, but he is back here tonight. You expect that to provide a bit of a jolt and a boost morale-wise, adrenaline-wise for the LA Kings tonight in their dressing room. So I like the draw. I've taught myself into taking the draw here rather than trusting either side, because we've been sniffing around overtime or a shootout with these two teams head-to-head. Doesn't get much closer than 9 of the last 10 meetings. Kings versus Panthers have been a 1-goal game. So I think the draw is worth a look here. Trevor, what do you think here? LA, Florida.
If you're going to just go right down who I think is going to win, I think this is going to be a Florida win. Just looking at the Kings going 0-2 in their last 2 on this road trip. Their away record's 11, 12, and 5. They have an elite home record. It's not a great away record for a team that's in a playoff spot right now. And then
that's
you're going
the issue for LA. 11 and 17 on the road for them. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Florida here. I think it will be a tight game. It's just 2 really good teams.
Yep.
I think they'll definitely get a little bit of a boost having Doughty back. But that's not to say that Doughty also can't be a negative out there. He's going to come into a mid-season game. Could see a little bit of rust on him, and I don't know how many minutes he's going to log either. So that'll be an interesting game. I'm picking the Florida Panthers in this one.
3 straight unders, by the way. I know Aaron likes the under in the chat. I couldn't argue with that. I think it probably is a tighter, lower scoring game here tonight. We'll have to wait and see. But again, and it is. I know there's that theory too. I don't know if you buy into this, but we have floated this theory on the show in the past, and this is especially true in the NBA. I find it happens a lot. Star player comes back, or one of the best players on the team, and believe it or not, you lose that game more often than you win it, because sometimes it throws off a little rhythm, or it takes some rhythm. It takes a game or 2 for Doughty in this case to get his rhythm back, his timing back, and the flow of things. And meanwhile, the lineup's altered, and sometimes it's not a given that you get one of your best players back. Surely you're going to win the game, and it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you said it well. It throws a wrench in, and the wrench might not always land on what it's supposed to be used on.
Yeah,
it takes an adjustment. You're getting a guy who has a huge presence, not only on the ice but in the locker room, and energy has been what it was throughout the whole season for LA without him in there. And now you're going to get him back in, and there's going to be an adjustment period, and it can be great. And it could take a couple games for it to kind of even out. And I don't know, tonight will be a really good look at what they're going to look like going forward.
All right. I'll ask you the same question I asked you about Winnipeg. Do you buy LA as a legit cup contender and a team that can make hay in the playoffs? We know Florida can. I'm not even going to ask you that with Florida.
I don't think so. I don't think LA's there.
Yeah.
I don't like that away record. You don't win games on the road.
I don't trust their offense enough, because their offense was kind of, I guess, performing better than it often does. And now all of a sudden the offense is sputtering again. Los Angeles, 2 goals or less now for them in 9 of their last 10 games. Not what you want to see. That's not going to win you many hockey games. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing Kopitar's doing at his age too.
Yeah, no doubt.
How's that body going to hold up though in playoffs? That's if you're leaning heavily on him for your offense.
Yeah,
I mean he's getting up there in age, but he's still doing it, and he's a darn good pro. That guy takes care of his body.
He does, and he still plays at a very high level. Like there's been not much. There's maybe a little bit of a drop off, but nothing significant. I do want to mention Kevin Fiala too for the Kings may not go tonight. Game time decision due to an illness for him for the LA Kings. Bobrovsky is confirmed in net. Darcy Kemper projected for the LA Kings to start tonight, but like I said, not confirmed as of yet. All right, Minnesota and Toronto. We've got the Leafs minus 155 home favorites, 5.5 the total. here in this game. We've got Toronto coming off. Here's what I think we need to really focus on: scheduling spots at this time of year. Okay, this is the time of year where teams have to play a shit ton of games in a short period of time. It's unbelievable how they pack in the games. And Trevor, they're doing it even more so here in mid to late January this year because of the Four Nations break. So they're trying to get everybody to play as many games as possible right now. But when you look at Minnesota, they played Thursday, they played Saturday, they played Sunday. They're now playing here tonight on a Wednesday. And for Toronto, they played against Columbus on Wednesday, Ottawa on Saturday, and they've been off since that Saturday loss to the Senators. And this is like their third game in 7 or 8 days. So a rare opportunity for the Leafs to have an extended break here. And you've got them feeling not miserable because they're having a great season, but they're a little upset. They've lost 2 in a row. To the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Ottawa Senators. They're rested. They've got 2 days off, 3 days off, I should say, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. They've had a chance to get practice time in. They've had a chance to at least get some of these injuries to heal up. Unfortunately, nobody is coming back. These few days off didn't allow many, except Pacioretty. Max Pacioretty is back tonight for the Leafs, but Matthew Nyes is still out. Anthony Stolarz is still not quite ready yet, and John Tavares is still out as well for the Leafs here in this game. So, but I like this spot a lot here for Toronto. They're not feeling great about their game. Now we find out Minnesota's got Kaprizov, and they should have put him in. They should have given him the green light to do the surgery weeks ago. Now instead, you're just putting him in the surgery ward now, and he's going to be out now at least till the mid-March. And there's I don't know if they handled that the best way, but Kaprizov now out again for the Minnesota Wild. Moving forward, including, of course, in tonight's game, just as they were starting to get healthier. They still have, obviously, Brodin out, but, they had gotten Kaprizov back, Spurgeon back, Brock Faber was out. They got him back from injury, and just when they're starting to get healthy again, they suffer a Kaprizov setback that he needs surgery. Gustafsson will get the start in net. Jonas Gustafsson here for Minnesota. He hasn't been as great lately. In fact, prior to the win against Chicago Sunday night, where the team just bared down defensively, Gustafsson gave up 4 to Utah, 5 to Edmonton, 4 to Vegas, 6 to Colorado, 4 to St. Louis in the starts before that. He really struggled. So I'm going to take Toronto, but I'm taking their team total here, over 3.5. I think they get 4 goals. I know Alex is on it. I'm in full agreement with it. You get a nice plus money price here, plus 128 you can find at Pinnacle with Toronto team total over 3.5. I think that's the way to go about it. You don't want to lay minus 155 with Toronto. I certainly don't. So take their team total. I know their offense has sputtered. There's still no Nyes. There's still no Tavares in the lineup. And their lineup's a lot thinner as a result. But I think for tonight, the focus is going to be we need to generate more offense. Maybe more Matthews and Marner step up. With Bobby McMahon, I'm going to go back to the goal prop with him. We cashed with it against Ottawa. Again, there's another example of our theory, Trevor. Bobby McMahon moved up to the top line for Toronto with Matthews and Marner, and he's not priced like it. We got him like at a plus 400.
Really well in that spot last year.
Yes, he did. Bobby McMahon for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and he's undervalued. The odds makers make 0 adjustment. None. 0. Nothing.
That's good for us.
Yeah, for Bobby McMahon being up there. So that's the thing to watch for. Now, they've made a little adjustment tonight, but it's not enough. I still see plus 325 out there for him to score a goal when he's on the top line with Matthews and Marner. So, yeah, for me, Toronto team total over. I like the Matt McMahon prop again. Even just to get a point, Bobby McMahon is minus 108, which is a great price. So you can go more conservative if you don't think he's going to score a goal. But I do think he's got a chance to find the back of the net again for Toronto. So I like Leafs team total here over 3.5. What do you like here, and what do you think of this game, Trevor, Minnesota, Toronto?
I like the team total for Toronto, 100% with you guys on that. Even with those guys out of the lineup, there's so much offense you can rely on, and it's been proven for guys to come in onto that first or second line to generate points as well. I think Toronto's a lethal team. Team total seems pretty on point for what I would probably guess on that.
All right, I agree. I think team total, like I said, Because a lot of times, teams when they win a game, they score. There's some games where it is 2-1 or 3-0 or 3-1, but I find here that's a good spot for Toronto to get their offense back on track again. Because I remember they were on the 3-game losing streak, and then they scored 4 against New Jersey. When they break a losing streak, it's usually they do it by scoring. They lost 2 in a row against the Jets and the Islanders, and then they scored 5 against Detroit. They lost early in the year 2 in a row against Minnesota, St. Louis. They scored 4 after that. They lost 3 in a row to Boston, St. Louis, Columbus in October, and to snap the losing streak, they scored 6 goals. So it's been a pattern of when they snap the losing streak, more often than not, they've scored 4 goals. So to me, the Leaf team total is definitely the way to go here in this one. And then for Minnesota, if I'm going to look at anything as far as the prop market for them here in this game, they've got Ogren, Rossi, and Lauko as a newly formed second line behind Zuccarello, Eriksson Ek, and Boldy. So there's probably some value on Lauko and Ogren on that second line. They're definitely not going to be priced accordingly. Ogren is plus, 600 to get a goal. He's plus 225 to get a point. He's on the second line. And then, of course, Lauko's on that line as well, plus 975 for him to find the back of the net, plus 380 to get just a point. So definitely some value in those prices. 2 players playing on the second line for them. All right, we've got Vancouver, Nashville next up. Nashville minus 145, home favorites. The total here sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over in this game. Obviously, we've got a Nashville team that has started to show life, but boy, oh boy, they've started to look very scary as well as far as in the offensive zone or defensive zone of late. Now, it's going to be interesting because are they capable or are they going to be able to clean this up? Because, yes, this team is still a pretty strong 5-1 in their last 6 games. And the first few wins in that 5-1 run, 5-3, 3-2, 6-2, pretty good games and pretty good defensive efforts. I don't know what's happened to them the last 3 games. They give up 5 to San Jose in back-to-back games, but they won them because they outscored the Sharks and their offense exploded, and that's because Marchessault, Stamkos, and Philip Forsberg right now can't be stopped for Nashville. They've been on a roll lately for them. And then they give up the 5 spot to Anaheim and lose 5-2 to snap the 5-game winning streak. So they had won the San Jose games in spite of giving up a bunch of goals, in spite of the defense struggling, in spite of Saros and the Justus Onanen. My funny phrase that I come up with is useless Onanen when he doesn't play well for the Nashville Predators. But they've struggled in net. Defense has had issues. You got Vancouver coming in here, and I'm ready to, lower the casket, if you will, on Vancouver because of just the way things were falling apart on this team. It had been a miserable run, and here they are now. They beat a pretty good Washington team at home 2-1, and then they beat St. Louis 5-2 on the road. So it's a tricky side for me. I think I could only look at Vancouver at this price. I'm not ready to lay with Nashville and their defense and their struggles to keep the puck out of the net at minus 145. I just don't want to take them at that price. What I do like here is, you see what we're seeing with what we've seen lately with the Vancouver Canucks. I think this is an over bifecta until proven otherwise with Nashville. There's been goals early in their games of late. There's been goals often, obviously, in their games. Like we've seen first period over and full game over cash in 4 straight Nashville Predators games going into tonight. So, and look, we're getting a cheap price here because Vancouver's not thought of as an offensive juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination. I like over bifecta here. Over 1.5 first period, over 5.5 full game. This is just a bet where I'm happy to make it, and I'm happy to do it until Nashville shows me they can shut things down defensively, and they have been atrocious at that the last few games, giving up 5 goals to San Jose back-to-back against the Sharks, and then 5 in the loss to Anaheim. And it hasn't mattered who's been in net. Like, it's probably going to be Saros tonight, and it is, and it's Thatcher. And that's another thing about this over. Thatcher Demko hasn't been anything to write home about since he's been back. He just gave up 6 goals to Edmonton in his last start. He hasn't been great, since he's been back from injury. Saros is fighting the puck, struggling with his confidence. I think it's not much to ask to get over 5.5 here tonight with Vancouver and Nashville. And then you've got the stuff off the ice, Trevor, with Vancouver. Jim Rutherford. I don't know. Is it old age or is getting senile or what? Who comes out and makes that statement That, oh, yeah, there's definitely problems. JT Miller hates Elias Pettersson and vice versa. Elias Pettersson hates JT. Who comes out and says that as a president of hockey operations publicly and makes that a public display and makes that publicly known? I think we all hinted there was some dissension in the ranks with the two of them, but who the hell says that when you're the president of the hockey operations in that interview yesterday that, yeah, they hate each other's guts. They're not getting along. There's no fixing it. That's basically what he said yesterday to the interview. And then the media today, I saw the clip of it, Trevor. They're in the dressing room of the Canucks for the game morning skate, and getting the interviews. They're asking JT Miller, what did you think of Jim Rutherford's comments? Are you shitting me? Are you kidding that you're going to ask him that? You really think he's going to give you a quote, and comment about those statements by Jim Rutherford? You got to have bolts in your head if you think he's going to say something about it. I couldn't believe it. You're like, what? I know it's your job. You got to ask the question because Rutherford came out and said that yesterday. But if you think for a second JT Miller is going to say something to step on someone's toes about it, I mean, what did you expect him to say today? Really? What did you expect him to say? It's insanity to me that you thought you were going to get a quote out of JT Miller about what Jim Rutherford said about his relationship with Elias Pettersson. That's my rant.
It's a rough move. I mean, that's just shocking. I don't know if it was some sort of behind the scenes play to potentially move one of them and lower an asking price, but I mean, it's just absurd to me. Absurd. And then to ask the player a question like that, I don't know how many
JT Miller has got to be dumber than rocks if he's going to feed into that and say something that would rub someone the wrong way. He did the right thing. I'm just not going to say it. No comment.
Yeah. Yep. You don't get much from players anyways during those interviews, and then you're going to ask a question like that. That's like a polarizing situation. Tough line to toe there.
Yeah, it's just someone is going to get moved. There's no doubt. This team will not have both players on the roster after the trade deadline. And right now, the more movable contract, Trevor, is JT Miller. And that's simply because, look, Elias is making a shit ton of money and his production hasn't lived up to it, for the majority of the last, year and a bit with Vancouver. So it's just teams are more interested in the cheaper number on JT Miller probably than, the big number with Elias Pettersson when the production hasn't come close to matching what he's getting paid. And right now, these days, whether you like it or not, Trevor, as a player, the judgment on you and the opinion of you is almost attached to the dollar amount. Like you're judged based on what you're producing for what you're making.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%. That's culture is part of, the locker room culture is something that needs to be built from the ground up. And you're not going to, if you're a team who's building towards a championship, you're not going to want to bring somebody in who's got a little bit of a foggy storm over their head in terms of it being questioned, their character.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just amazing to me. Jim Rutherford said that yesterday. I'm mind blown by it. That's what I said. I know he's an older guy. He's been a respected management figure, though. Won a Stanley Cup with Carolina in 2006. He was the GM of that team. Did a hell of a job. Did a great job. He's been had a great career in the NHL as an executive. I'm wondering, as he's getting older, like I said, is the senility starting to come into play? How do you say something like that publicly?
Seriously,
it's crazy. It's mind blowing to me that we heard that from Jim Rutherford yesterday. But I like the over by Fecta here. What do you think of this game here, Trevor? Canucks Predators.
Yeah, I think the over is good. I think these teams are both struggling defensively, and I think this could be a high scoring one, especially with all the firepower on both teams.
Yeah, what's funny about Vancouver? I'll throw this out at you here. Vancouver suddenly has gone over the total in their last 3 road games. So we don't think of Vancouver as a big over team this year. But
great.
Yeah, 3 straight road games for the Canucks have gone over. 6-1 loss to Winnipeg, 6-2 loss to Edmonton, and then the 5-2 win the other night against St. Louis. So, like I said, they've been early in the year under Tocchet. They were playing pretty tight on the road defensively. Now that's kind of gone the other way a little bit for them. The last few games. Yeah, Quinn Hughes has been an angel during this whole time. the shit he's having to deal with right now as the captain. And don't forget, this is a guy that's just trying to get comfortable as the captain and the leader and the voice of the team in the dressing room. And he's got to deal with this shitstorm and this bullshit and this crazy nonsense every day. Could you imagine that? Put yourself, Trevor, in his shoes. I mean,
Yeah,
my goodness, it would be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a young captain, and he's dealing with players that are both older than him and both very high paying, and God knows there's egos in the NHL and in every league. So it's it's probably a pretty interesting locker room to be a part of right now. And I'm sure both are great guys, but sometimes you can be great guys and just not get along.
And it just doesn't work. Yep. And it just doesn't work. You're right. Sometimes it just doesn't work, even though, no one's in the wrong. It's not like it's JT's fault or it's Elias Pettersson's fault. Sometimes it's just two personalities and it's just not meshing and it's not working. And you got to cut bait and move on. And I think Vancouver will eventually do that. But I think it'll be moving JT Miller just because I think that's the easier trade to make right now for them. All right. Next up, final game, Pittsburgh and Utah. We've got Utah minus 140, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. I mean, the Penguins, Crosby is starting to get a little miffed with some of the questions, talking about his future and the trade rumors, and he got a little upset about that the other day. But they're starting to come out again because this has been an absolutely awful road trip for the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially the last 3 games. Those are all winnable games against teams that are probably even a little bit worse than you, and you lost all 3. 5-1 at Anaheim, 4-1 at Seattle, 2-1 at San Jose. Now, Pittsburgh's not a team I'm looking to back. I actually think it's a great spot for Utah, but gosh, I don't love the price. I'll be honest. Minus 140. It's not like Utah's rolling right now the way they're playing. That's a hefty price. I mean, they're still only 3-7 in their last 10 games. But here's why I think it's a good spot for Utah. It's definitely a Utah spot more than it is for Pittsburgh. Utah, they've had 2 days off to get ready for this. They lost their last 2 games against the Jets and the Sens, but they've had 2 full days of rest. Look at this schedule for Pittsburgh, and I've talked about how scheduling spots matter and how many games you played in a short period of time matters. This is the end of a 7-game, 2-week road trip. This is the 4th game in 7 days, all with venue change and travel for Pittsburgh. 4th game in 7 days for the Pittsburgh Penguins, all with venue change. So I wonder what kind of gas is left in their tank going into this game, Pittsburgh. So this is 4th and 7 for them, and it's been 2 full days off with rest for Utah going into this game. So that's a huge scheduling and spot advantage for Utah. What do you think of someone that played? And you're on the bad end of that? Do you feel it as a player?
I'm hammering Utah on that.
Wow.
I think that's 4 and 7 is rough. It's rough on your body, whether you're on the road or at home. Those games are rough, especially now with how many games they've been playing throughout.
And it's the thin air and altitude. I just thought of that, Trevor, because they're up in Utah.
I mean, I've been out there, not to Utah. I played college games in Denver and Colorado College, and that's no joke playing up in the altitude. It is hard, and to do that at the end of a 4 and 7, I'm going Utah. All
right, I didn't even have to ask you, Trevor. What do you think of this game? There you go. He just laid it out right there in black and white there, Pittsburgh and Utah. Yeah, the only thing I don't like is the price. I don't know, minus 140 is no bargain on a Utah team that hasn't played great. It does have some injuries still. Sergachev, will have to see if he returns on the blue line. And it is Connor Ingram, not Karel Vejmelka in net. And he did give up 4 goals in the loss to Winnipeg. That being said, before that, in his return, he had given up 2 goals in each of his first 3 starts against the Islanders, the Blues, and then the first game against the Jets, which was in Utah. He only gave up 2 goals. So, yeah, this is Utah or pass for me. I just wish the price was better than minus 140. But not for Trevor. Trevor loves Utah. I have a feeling we might be getting back to this game for best bet segment in just a bit at the end of the show from Trevor's point of view. As far as props go for this game, I mean, for Pittsburgh, if I'm going to bet anybody, I'm going to look toward, the Raquel Crosby Rust line. I don't know if I trust anyone else right now, but Utah, I think Josh Doan's overdue. I like Barrett Hayton. Barrett Hayton has really had a nice run lately, and Logan Cooley. Those are the 3 I would look at for Utah. Barrett Hayton, 4 goals in the last 4 games. I think there's a chance he gets on the board tonight for the Utah Hockey Club in this game. I could see Cooley, and I could see certainly Josh Doan event finally getting on the score sheet for the Utah Hockey Club, see if they're able to do that. Great stuff. Trevor did an awesome job in his first time here on the Ice Guys show. Again, we'll wrap up in just a moment. Absolutely, with best bets in just a moment. First of all, we want to remind everybody, sign up, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Yes, the 50% off discount expired as of midnight on Wednesday, but we'll have another discount offer provided for all our viewers and listeners. So make sure you sign up. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. And, of course, access to our exclusive Ice Guys Patreon live betcast. And, by the way, big announcement, we will have another Patreon exclusive Ice Guys live betcast next Thursday, February the 6th, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So as a thank you to all the new Patreon members that signed up, we will be back with another Patreon exclusive live betcast next Thursday, February the 6th, another big NHL card that night. So make sure you sign up to join us for our next exclusive live betcast. $10 per month. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. And check out the Ice Guys store as well. Get your gear and your merch. New gear, new merch as well, which you'll see in the ad that we're about to run in a few seconds. iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, we'll be back with Trevor for Best Bets, Bargain Bin Special to wrap up the show in just a moment. First of all, getting lightheaded there for a minute. Forgot what I was about to say. Best Bets, Bargain Bin Special, the night coming up in just a moment. But first, time to hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
All right, shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, Bargain Bin Special of the night. Trevor, you can pass on this if you want, but what this is a plus 300 or better priced player prop. So it's one that's off the grid a little bit. It's not like recommending an Austin Matthews or a Connor McDavid. It's someone a little bit off the grid, someone that maybe sneaks up on you and scores a big goal tonight. So do you have anyone in mind for the games tonight on this Wednesday slate?
I like the Bobby McCann. I think that's going to be a good one.
I'm with you there. Bobby McMahon is a great one for Toronto, plus 325. I used him I'm not going to use him tonight for Bargain Bin Special, but I totally understand why you are. I love it. He scored the other night against Ottawa on that top line, and I like it once again here tonight for Toronto. But that's not my Bargain Bin Special. My Bargain Bin Special is from the game we talked about last, Pittsburgh and Utah. We're taking Barrett Hayton. 4 goals in the last 4 games for the Utah Hockey Club, plus 360 for Barrett Hayton to find the back of the net tonight. I think that's a pretty good price for someone that's been in good form lately for Utah. So Barrett, Hayton, Utah Hockey Club, plus 360 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets to wrap things up for this Wednesday edition of the show. We'll start with our guest who did great job. You're going to get your contract, I think. The PTO was great. It went well for Trevor Mingoya on his first show. But best bet for this Wednesday, what do you like most? I have a feeling I know what it is.
Oh, man. Let me pull this up real quick.
I think it's. I thought I just assumed it was going to be Utah. You know,
I wanted to say that. I wanted to say that right out the gate, but I'm almost going Leafs.
You like Toronto. You like that team total more.
I think the lack of Kirill Kaprizov is gonna really hurt them. I think it's gonna really hurt the Wild. That's what I'm going with. Leafs.
Toronto. All right, there you go. We'll give you the team total on that then, over 3.5. It's a good price, plus 130 with the Leafs team total over 3.5. I like that one as well. I think they score 4 goals tonight. Don't like what I'm seeing, obviously, from I like the spot for Toronto. Obviously, Toronto's lost 2 in a row, Columbus and Ottawa, but this is a situation now where, you know, there's a minute. And by the way, they owe Minnesota because Minnesota beat them, and they did not play well in Minnesota, I remember, earlier this season. So, and that's a good stat, 4-0 on 3 days rest for the Leafs. So, Leafs team total, but I like the team total. I don't like the money line price. That's why I'm taking team total with the Leafs here. My best bet, give me Vancouver, Nashville over 5.5. That price is too cheap right now with how miserable the defense is for the Nashville Predators right now. I think we'll see enough goals. We're not asking for a huge shootout. You give us 6 goals in that game, it goes over the total. I think it does. Let's go with Vancouver, Nashville over 5.5, minus 120 for my best bet here for this Wednesday NHL card. Great stuff. Great show in the books. Trevor, any last words you want to say to everyone watching before we wrap it up here?
No, just appreciate it. Thanks for everybody watching, and the chat was pretty awesome to watch as well. So really enjoyed doing this.
They're a ball of fire, that's for sure. They are something.
Yeah. They're great.
Always a lot of great chatter, and you know, there's chirping, but most of the time nothing personal, which is great because
that's good.
It's good healthy discussion or arguments when there are any. Trevor did a great job. Thanks for joining us, my friend. We'll get you back on certainly many more times this season. A reminder: the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Trevor Mingoya, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow on Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.